Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Rude Boys Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Long.
And it's me, the other one, the Austin one.
Austin Robertson. That's you.
Yeah, that's my full name.
Yeah. Well, I don't know your middle name.
I was given it at birth, I think, probably.
Are we giving out middle names on the podcast now, or no?
No, I don't want to get doxxed. Are you kidding me?
Dox him, not me!
Everyone knows who we are, I think, by this point.
I have so many enemies online.
What episode? This is 16. So we've been doing this 4.5 years. Maybe not consistently, but we've been doing it. Austin, how do you feel today?
I'm feeling okay. I think it's an all right day. Just the normal things are taking place. Did you see it? How are you doing, by the way?
Well, very well. I'm doing a lot better than last time. Directly after, I wanted to mention last time, right after we recorded that podcast, we both got visited by the Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
I don't even like them.
At the exact same time. We live in completely different states, and yet for some reason, at the same time I got sick, you got sick.
Yeah.
Same day. I remember it was the Germa baseball stream was airing.
Truly, we are brothers.
Brothers, we're brothers.
We're brothers.
Bringing that one back again.
Yeah, it was a very interesting time. We both finally got our. Was it your first time having it as well?
No, it's probably my second. I think I had it in March of 2020 when it started, and then never again until just now.
I lived in Manhattan when it started. I moved during that time. I lived in this current hellscape where people don't give a shit about it, and I managed to get away without getting sick for like 3 years, and it didn't work out. I finally got it.
You made it that far, but then it eventually caught up to you. The Backstreet Boys, they'll do that.
Well, they'll find you. They're not willing to be relegated to the annals of the 90s history. They want to remain completely relevant at all times. Speaking of remaining relevant, the thing I was going to talk about, did you see the funny Yee, aka Kanye, news lately?
No, there's funny Kanye news? Let's hear about it. What is he doing now?
So you know Kanye's been in a way lately.
We're talking about Kanye West, the rapper.
Kanye West. He has been, let's just say, off of his medication for a while.
Didn't he threaten to kill Kim Kardashian's new boyfriend?
He's got big divorced dad energy lately.
Oh, you don't want that.
He's got specifically the conservative dad bend of that. And to show the conservative dad divorced energy, not only did we have the funny Candace Owens shot where him and Candace were wearing White Lives Matter t-shirts, which is a great look. He followed up recently with just a banger tweet. Did you see the banger tweet?
I didn't see. I'm not on Twitter all that often. What was the banger tweet?
He said that he would be going death gone. It was something that it all started with P. Diddy, I think it was, who was talking to him, being like, "Hey man, that shirt photo, not a good look for us. Like you're hurting our cause here, man." And he's like, "Look, I don't know what Jews sent you, but I ain't having it." And then he went on Twitter and said he would go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people.
I'm seeing it now in all caps. He says, "I can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew."
Yeah, so he's doing a Hotep thing.
This tweet was removed by Twitter for being too offensive, huh?
Yeah, he didn't get anything else though. At least Instagram kind of like restricted him a bit.
This happened today? Literally today.
Yeah. I cannot begin to explain to you Hoteps and the history of Hoteps. So Kanye is taking a little bit of that and mixing it with his recent brain rot that is conservatism and becoming what he is today, which is DEFCON 3.
Do you think he's being influenced by other people, like telling him what to do, or has he just lost his mind?
I think he is a suggestible man who has very little going on in his life substantially, who thinks that being unmedicated makes him a better artist, despite seemingly not being the way, and is getting all of his lessons of the world from conservatives, like Candace Owens.
This is both depressing and funny.
That's usually the way it goes. Usually it's a tragedy wrapped in comedy.
Oh, speaking of comedy, you know that one person we joked about a long time ago in previous episodes of the podcast?
The one person?
The one person, I think, is the SHA administrator.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we can't talk about him anymore. It's no longer funny to talk about somebody who got arrested for assault. Because he did. Was
it the violent or the sexual sort?
It was with the deadly weapon. Look, we defeated Shadman by doing nothing.
We did defeat him. It's
He
true.
defeated himself.
Really, that really does play into like the characters we created in Rocket League and Admiral Stonewall.
We're off doing our podcast, and we get the news by telegram. Yeah, Shadman's done. He's finished. I'm okay with that.
So I'll accept it.
So we'll have to come up with a new villain. That one's done. I'm glad that we got so much mileage out of making fun of him in the older episodes, but now we'll move on. We'll find somebody else.
Well, I will find something. We'll make it the other two that I know we had were Trombone Man and Spirit Science, so we'll find somebody.
Yeah, easy targets for making fun of people.
Here comes a new challenge.
You know what? The new villain is Kanye. I've decided it.
Oh, we're adding Kanye to the... Okay, sure.
Welcome.
We'll slap...
Welcome to the villain roster, Yee.
Jesus. Yo, just Yee.
We're gonna take the incredible stance of not being anti-Jew here.
The incredible stance. Yeah. Oh, here's a real person we can make fun of. Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Interesting person.
The Mario movie trailer aired 2 days ago.
Yeah, we finally got it. I've been anxious about how it's gonna look for months because I'm just like, oh my god.
What did you think? We both watched it.
Here is my thoughts going into it. My anxiety going up to it was that one, Illumination is involved, so of course I'm anxious about it. Secondly, the other person who is involved from Nintendo is Miyamoto himself, who, while Shiggy is exceptionally good at some things, he is not known for being a lover of narrative in games, so I wasn't really sure about having him.
He has pushed back on that, hasn't he? I remember that.
Like, he pushed back a lot on, like, the little bit of narrative they put into Super Mario Galaxy, and then I think because of his influence, Super Mario Galaxy 2 had less of it.
I was fine with that. I think 2 is a better game, but...
I think it's fine, but because of that, I was kind of worried that maybe him being the consult to Illumination might be somewhat harmful, but I did give him a little bit of credit because it is a movie, which is a narrative form and not just a game, so it's not like he can improve the gameplay of the Mario movie.
And yeah, he wasn't involved in the live-action movie at all.
Yeah, I think that one, if he were involved, that might have helped just because anything probably would have helped that movie.
I don't know, man. I still think Bob Hoskins is a better Mario than Chris Pratt. And Bob Hoskins is also not Italian.
Well, we'll just say we have seen the trailer now, and I do think it looks pretty good.
He doesn't even say "let's go." He doesn't even say "go." He says "here we come."
Here we come.
It's so flat. It's terrible.
Let's travel there, is what he says.
Anyway, Jack Black and Charlie Day look great, though.
Yeah. It's a good trailer. It's resulted in a lot of really funny memes on Twitter, which is always a good thing. I think we're looking pretty good on that, obviously.
I want to see the movie. It made me want to see it.
I think it'll be a fun thing to see, regardless. We still have obviously not heard Seth Rogen, Donkey Kong, or a myriad of other characters.
We did hear Keegan-Michael Key's Toad. I forgot about that.
Come on, Mario.
It's so, like, just... It's all right.
It's perfectly audible. Like, it's fine.
You can hear it.
I made the case for having a classic Toad voice be everywhere, because I think
You're gonna make me do it?
An entire town of just Toad voices going about their business is hilarious to
Do
me.
it. What does classic Toad voice sound like? Tell me right now.
I'm not even going to attempt it. I can't. Not even gonna happen.
Oh, Mario!
Yeah.
I just killed. My waveform just exploded.
I think that voice, an entire town where everyone sounds like that, is hilarious to me.
I just realized that I kind of sound like Polly for a second. Like,
Can you just imagine just trying to get Starbucks and you're just talking to the barista and both of you have that voice? That's hilarious to me.
I want a venti with foam.
Is that not a far better movie immediately? That is a far funnier scenario.
Like a Diet Pepsi, please.
I'd like a Diet Pepsi, please.
I'm tentatively excited for it. I think Mario's voice is A-okay. There's been a long history of American Mario voices where just being vaguely Brooklyn, New Yorker is all you gotta do. And he's definitely trying it.
Can we do the a whole heap of spaghetti of information?
This is my brother Luigi's gonna get a whole thing of heaping spaghetti information.
You do that pretty well, actually.
I like the Mario.
My brother Luigi. All right, I'm glad we're talking about Mario because this band's name is a Mario reference.
It is in fact a Mario reference. It is a Mario.
We're gonna talk about a band called Flying Raccoon Suit. right now, Austin. Finally. It's taken me over a year since I wanted to start talking about them. I apologize. Hiatus has happened.
Didn't you talk me into like backing this band on Kickstarter for this album?
I did. I foolishly was wrong last time when I said that I didn't back it. I convinced you to, and I also did, because the album was already done. They were just looking for a distributor, and so Kickstarter enabled them to send shit out to people. And we also got that cool vinyl and a shirt and the 8-bit remixes album, which is also by the main guy in the band, Andrew.
I got the cool shirt.
Very cool.
I have a little band decal, and I got the digital and the 8-bit.
We don't usually talk about the cover album, or the cover for the albums, but I think the cover for Afterglow is really good. I like the robot.
Yeah, it's good. I like it on my shirt. It's a great shirt. I like the art.
It's a great shirt. Before we even talk about the band, let's talk about the merch.
Yeah, Afterglow
merch is good.
as a shirt, 8 out of 10. Pretty good.
Feeling it. All right, let's talk about the band. Flying Raccoon Suit is an indie band from Biloxi, Mississippi, and I don't believe we talked about anybody from Mississippi yet. And when I say indie, I really mean it in the case of this band. Not only are they, independent, they don't have a label, they also make indie-sounding music. They have a do-it-yourself aesthetic. They started as a punk band, and they have a certain type of sound that we haven't really talked about in this podcast yet.
I should have sent you the message I was going to send you, because when I first listened to the band, I had two thoughts in my head, which were, this band is probably the most indie band we're going to ever talk about, or at least have talked about thus far. And I purposefully do very little research on the bands just so that I can get an idea of the music, because I know you'll do that research, and it gives me...
I like researching.
It gives me the opportunity to be a member of the audience who doesn't know anything about this. But the other thing I'd said was extremely indie, and definitely from like a small area, like a small rural area. I immediately got that opinion, or that feeling from
Where's Mississippi on the map? Mississippi is lower, right?
Yeah, Mississippi is south.
My geography is terrible. I'm sorry. It's a southern state.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think it's sort of.
Oh, it's right above Louisiana.
Yeah, I think it's kind of right about on the same line.
Oh, it's right next to Alabama. I just went there in July. I just went to Alabama.
It's
for my vacation to visit my friends.
It's sort of vertically. It's kind of right on the line with Indiana. I think some of our rivers feed into the Mississippi further down south, like the Wabash or something. But
so yeah, just imagine being in a punk band in Mississippi. That's where we are. That's where this band starts. So I had to do a little bit more research, though, because while the band has done some interviews, I don't think anyone has actually asked them how they got started. So I emailed Andrew on Bandcamp, and I asked, hey, how did you guys start as a band? And they told me that they first played together at a high school talent show in 2010. So that's where they started. So not really much of a band, just a bunch of people with instruments who played together. But then in 2012... they actually got together and recorded stuff at Andrew's house/garage. That was Paper Airplanes. That was their first album. And that's a super garage band sound. It's extremely punky. It's not the best audio quality. And, they're young. They're trying shit out, trying to figure it out. Some of the elements in the current band are still preserved from that day. The band likes, breakdowns, catchy horn lines, and some danceable choruses. Those are still on that album. It's just, it's not as good. I'm just going to say that. Sorry, guys. So, 2012, they shipped that album, and then they go off to college. So, they're about our age, I would say. I went to college in 2012 also. So, they stopped for a few years as a band, and then restarted in 2016. So, they changed their lineup a little bit. They got a couple new people, and then they recorded a new album that sounded different, which was Flying Raccoon Suit Makes a Friend. I listened to this a little bit in 2017 because I was listening to the ska punk compilation album, the What Do You Know About Ska Punk, that they released on Bandcamp. I forget what's the name of the guy who does those, but he collects just an assload of modern ska and punk bands and reggae bands. A lot of stuff in there, honestly. And 2017, I kind of needed that. Here's a personal story. I was homeless for a bit in 2017. It sucked. I really needed some music to perk me up because I needed it desperately. And my uncle, who is now dead now, God rest his soul, he let me borrow his laptop so I could listen to some music and stuff while I was just hanging out. And I found this stuff, and when I was looking through that, I heard the song Proud by Flying Raccoon Suit, and I'm going to play that right now. I don't remember if I showed you this one, but it's very fun. I like it quite a bit. That's from Flying Raccoon Suit Makes a Friend, and I saw a lot of potential in the band because at that time, they had added a female vocalist who I don't think was considered the lead at the time. She's the lead now, but that adds a lot to the band in the sound. And I think they got better at producing. Much like Dylan is for Third Rates, Derek is the drummer, and he mixes all the albums himself. He doesn't master them, but he mixes them. Did you listen to Proud? I don't remember if I showed you that one.
I haven't heard Proud, no.
Another one of my favorites from that album is Cocoon, which I think I listened to a Q&A with the band, and they went through all of their like favorite songs from old songs and stuff on this record, and a lot of them liked Cocoon. Cocoon was a weird one, but I like the places it goes. I think there's some aspects of the experimentalness on that record and on this one, especially on this one, honestly. I think the band gets super experimental on Afterglow. But I like it a lot. But it's still not mixed as well as this one. This is 2016. It's been like 5 years since 2021. And that brings me to when this album came out, Afterglow. Lo and behold, they're holding a Kickstarter for distributing their new album. And I told all my friends, I was like, hey, I really like the sounds these guys are making. Can you support them? And the fans showed up. You know, they were asking for $7,000 to just, make CDs, vinyls, shirts, whatever, and then get the album out to people. And they made over $10K. That's pretty good. That's not bad for a first-time Kickstarter.
For a fledgling band from Mississippi, like, that's not bad at all, just to get it going.
No, not bad at all. Yeah, people were already liking the music that these guys were making. So, yeah, fans showed up. So, brief history of the previous albums before this one. And now I want to talk about the members. And thankfully, unlike the last band we talked about, Melbourne Ska Orchestra, I can talk about the individual members of this band, because there's only 7 of them. Much better than the 30 plus. So lead guitar, lead male vocals, and occasionally trombone, we have Andrew Heaton. The band calls him Andy, so I'll also call him Andy. This is the guy that does all the sick riffs and the screaming vocals when the band needs to break out, as well as being the one whose house they recorded in way back in 2012. He does the 8-bit songs. He posts to the band's YouTube channel, and the remix album for this one is called Afterglow Simulator. That's also on Bandcamp too, which they gave away as part of the Kickstarter, but you can just pick it up. Andrew makes those, I think, in his spare time, just for fun. He also makes covers of other band songs. So, pretty fun guy. He used to be the main lead singer before they added the female vocalist, who I will now talk about. Sorry for waiting so long. We have Jessica Jeanson. She is a huge addition to the band since 2016. I'm actually not sure if she joined before that, but that was when the band reformed, so I assume. I think we all can agree she's got some pipes. I do like the way she sings. She's great stuff. We've only actually talked about, on this podcast, one other band with a lead female vocalist, and that was the Interrupters. We've had them on previous, singles and songs from other albums, but never a lead female vocalist. So we have more of that representation on the show, and I think she's quite different from Amy. She does well with the slinky, laid-back jazz singing and the pumped-up shouting the band likes to do. I think she puts more, I want to say, passion into her singing than Amy does. So there's that.
I can see that for sure.
Both the vocalists. So on drums, keyboards, backing vocals, and the producer and mixer of all the band songs, Derek Curley. He also streams video games on Twitch, I believe. And I think Derek is, the heart of the band. The dude does so much good stuff. I really want to hang out with him someday. He's gotten way better at mixing. And, fun fact, before being in Flying Raccoon Suit, he was actually in a metal band. He was a total metalhead. And I like metal, so it's nice to have someone else that also likes that in the ska scene. Our bassist, Joshua Billiot. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Joshua. He's on bass. He's got a great smile. He's a precious boy. Very nice guy. I think he's around our age, like I said with the other people. Other than guitarists, we have brass sections. Nevin Applewhite is the alto sax player, and the Guillermo Gibson is on the tenor sax. 2 of those. And then there's the final member who was added in 2016, Brendan Canyon. He's on this album playing the cornet, which is the compact, smaller version of the trumpet, basically. It has more mellow sound, and it works really well for those breakdowns and horn lines between the verses.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all the members. 7 people. Easy. Easy peasy. A lot nicer. Yeah, you want to just talk about the album? Want to talk about Afterglow?
Yeah, I suspect that we will probably have some divergent opinions on a lot of the stuff.
I'm thinking so. I wanted to get your opinions because I knew it would be different than mine. And fun fact, I also had my friend Gizmo listen to the album because he does like indie music, and he's recommended a bunch of other indie bands to me before. So I figured he would enjoy Afterglow, and I will release his opinions after we get through it. But first, general thing about this album has so many influences. The band has been drawing from different places for some time. It's got indie, it's ska, it's jazz, it's metal, it's punk, and it does so much for showing the diversity that this band has and the willingness to experiment that I think we should encourage. And nothing is really off limits, so many different things can be ska or not be ska. So if we're going to talk about, ska punk bands like we do all the time, then it's fair that we talk about a band that goes in different directions every now and again. So let's get into the first track, the title track of the album, Afterglow. What do you think of Afterglow, Austin?
I think Afterglow works as a good band opening. It starts kind of heady, but it does slowly build over like the first minute of the song, which I think is pretty good for an opening thing. I think that's a good way of starting an album.
It's an okay opener. I wrote, it's a mission statement. It's solid from the songwriting standpoint. It does what I wanted the band to do. You know, I wanted them to play to their strengths. It's got better mixing, some vocal stuff for Jess to do, and for them to get their energy like more focused and creatively strong. And I think Afterglow does manage that. This is sort of like what the current style of the band. Going from Makes a Friend into this, you have a more of an idea of what the band sounds like now. I have in my notes, I also like the build-up. Obviously, the build-up is a great part. The bit where they do the breathe it deep, that's pretty good. The chorus and the drums carry the whole song. And I like hearing it when I boot up the album every time. But doesn't quite make my top 5. There are just other songs that I like more than this.
For me, things that jump out, things that will become sort of a common thing for the rest of the tracks here.
Let's get it started.
The way that the guitar is written in a lot of these, the composition for guitar is very classic 90s ska. This band, for how indie it is one of the modern bands that I think would more perfectly nest into the third wave at its top.
You think so? At the peak?
I think peak third wave, like if you had taken Afterglow and just dropped it in 1996, then it would have been perfect. It would have fit perfectly. So a lot of the sort of style, a lot of because there's very minute, subtle things that you notice indie bands of the time, contemporary to the rising of the third wave. They're very subtle compositional things that they would do with their guitar lines, and I'm seeing a lot of that here in these guitar lines.
I can sort of see that.
I quickly noticed. I think our vocalist is doing a fine job. I noticed the mixing from our drummer friend here is not as heavily produced as other bands, which is not a huge problem whatsoever.
Oh, you noticed the mixing. Wow, this is the first time you've pointed it out.
Yeah, I'm not usually one to notice the mixing, but I could tell it wasn't overly produced like some of the other stuff. It's got more of that kind of frayed edge on it, which I think is perfectly fine, especially if you're into that kind of indie sound. It's this sound specifically that made me think okay, very indie, probably from a rural area is what immediately, this is what
Right.
informed me on that.
Upon instantly hearing Afterglow, I can see how you would get that impression. Does it make your top 5?
It does not. I appreciate the kind of themes that the band is going for in this song. I like sort of the metered instrumentation that the band does in the latter half of this song. So in the second half, there's a part where the instrumentation breaks down into a really common metered tempo, which I think does a lot to add a lot of bounce and impact on the song.
Yeah, a lot of bands don't do that. A lot of bands stick to the the formula that they establish in the first half and just cut it.
And you talk about Flying Raccoon Suit's propensity for experimentation. I definitely see their propensity to want to play around with things, and I see that in their composition they like to have multiple phases in their music. So where, a lot of ska bands might be fine having sort of an A-B structure, or an A-B-A-B-C kind of structure where it's just verse, chorus, and then maybe an outro. I can see this band likes to go A-B, A, C, D. They like to kind of have, they like to have a phase either where there's a distinct tonal shift from the first half and second half of their songs, which I appreciate the experimentation for. The band doesn't always succeed in hitting where I'd want them to hit while experimenting.
Doesn't always hit the nail.
It could be that the experimentation will kind of, in future releases, lead them to develop a very unique and hard-hitting technique, but I think they are still growing into that. They're afterglowing into that still.
Sure.
So, unfortunately, Afterglow does not hit my top 5. It did kind of bounce around a little bit there for a bit. It might have been around a 6 or 7 for me, but it didn't quite hit the top 5.
Okay. That's fair. No, I think that's fair. I think that's very good. And I think the propensity to be able to, keep growing as a band. You're not ever really at your peak if you can keep trying new things and finding what works. This is a good start for the album. I do think the next track is actually a better opener. Let's talk about track 2, Hive Mind.
Start off with a funny melodica.
Yeah, funny melodica. That's Jess on the melodica. I'm pretty sure you can see her playing it in the music video, which this is the first song that got a music video. There's 3. They're like self-produced. They're fun little things that the band does in their spare time, which is neat.
They are very clearly tongue-in-cheek in the way that they, especially in the way that they are edited. I really focused in on the music video for Toss and Turn, which is hilarious if you just focus on the editing.
I did notice that. I think the editing was a little silly. So Hive Mind, I wrote, is a great early song on the record. I think it could potentially contend as someone else's favorite Flying Raccoon Suit song. Mm-hmm. It's got tons of energy. Andy's actual best vocal and guitar work on the record, I think, is "What Do You Believe? Lies and Dead End." I think it's actually some of the best stuff he's done. I think Hive Mind deserves to be a single. Andy also, we get some screaming towards the end. Good for the metal fans, myself included. I like the hardcore aspect towards the end of the song. And while it's not my all-time favorite, I still think it's pretty strong. This actually made my number 4. I liked it quite a bit. I liked Hive Mind, and I think it would have been a better opener. Personally, you know me, I like album sequencing and how albums are paced. I think this matters a lot to me for some reason. I don't know what's up with my brain. But if Hive Mind opened the album and then went into Afterglow and Driftwood, it would have been a much more stronger, pacing. Because Hive Mind going into Driftwood is just a little bit too similar to me, but going this Afterglow Driftwood would have made more sense in my opinion.
I believe this is where our opinions differ. They start to diverge quite a bit.
This is early. This is very early. This is track 2.
I'll preface with Hive Mind. It could be like my 11 or 12th. Like, I don't like Hive Mind very much.
Woo! That's very low. How many tracks are on this album?
I'm going to also suggest if anyone from the band were to listen to this,
12 tracks on this album.
Please don't take any animosity in my voice towards you guys.
No. You gotta explain your point. What else you like about it? Let's hear it.
I think I always like funny melodica. This is another band. I was obviously typing up my notes as I was listening to the album for the first time.
Yeah.
So I was also developing my thoughts on the band's sound as it was happening. But this song...
Wait, you were being critical of your first time through the album?
I re-listened to it and updated my notes, but this is also showing my thought process being a first-time listener.
Yeah, I guess we haven't really talked about our thought processes.
Because this is, again, where it differs. I like to go in with low information, especially if you're the one suggesting the album. I like to go in as a blind observer.
Right. Yeah. Unless we've both heard the album already, obviously.
This cements the band's real classic 90s third wave sound for me. Specifically, the comparison that came to my mind when thinking about indie bands of that time is a band that I do quite like a few songs from, which is Slow Gherkin.
Oh, we talked about Slow Gherkin, yeah.
It's a good comparison to be compared to Slow Gherkin in my estimation anyway. Bands like this are the sort of band that on repeat listens I will become more favored towards, but I don't think it'll be for Hive Mind. Eventually, I'll start singing the praises of some of the other songs here, but Hive Mind did not do it for me. I am not a metal fan.
What happened? What was your initial reaction? What was your Mike Ehrmantraut, my reaction to that information when you
let me return?
Saw it?
I'll give you that version when we get to a later song on the track list here.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to hear your initial reaction when the screaming happened for the first time.
I somehow wasn't surprised by it, but it doesn't do anything for me. And it could just be preferential. While Andy does a lot of work, I think his vocals could probably use a little bit of a zhuzhing for my personal taste, but that's not... I think they're perfectly fine.
You get some agita from the vocals?
I like plenty of... Slow Gherkin's another example. Like, the main vocalist from there is less of a vocalist and more of a man who just kind of... does what he can, and it works for those songs.
What's a good example I can put in the episode?
I would probably put in something from Pretty, because he tries, but oh boy, it does not work sometimes.
Hey man, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's really up to the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, for Slow Gherkin's indie sound, the vocalist's performance works just fine. But I think that Afterglow, Flying Raccoon Suit,
Andy's
and Andy's vocalist, like I feel like they're aiming for something different, and I think they can hit it. I just think that's still something that needs a little bit more development. I think both of the vocalists for a lot of the music come out a bit flat for me. I would still say better than Amy. I still think better than Amy, but I think it's more to do with, especially at the front of this album, more of the song's composition more than the specific talents of the vocalist. I think the songs are written in such a way where the vocals come kind of flat to me. They feel a little too serious. I feel like the band takes itself a little too seriously in the vocal performances in a way. So it just seems a little too metered, a little too serious, a little too lame and flat. Anyway, the other thing I noted is that I don't adore the lyricism from the band.
I was wondering when we were going to talk about this, because I don't think I really bring it up too much in my notes. But yeah, I'll say I'm not a huge fan of the lyrics in most Flying Raccoon Suit songs. I think they get it right maybe 3 out of 10 times.
Yeah, I would maybe.
It's not a great ratio, but
I think it kind of falls into that. I think the vocals are taking themselves a little too seriously, where it's like I feel like they're really aiming for some kind of avant-garde, artsy lyrics, but it's just not doing it.
I think occasionally they can get some really good stuff. I think
occasionally, sure, but it's definitely not happening for me in Hive Mind.
Anyway, I want to talk about the next song. If we talk about track 3, are we going to drift right onto the next track? Driftwood? I needed that taking that. Driftwood?
You're including both of them in there.
No, I'm not.
Well, how candid, how quirky and charming.
How personable of you.
How personable. I could really see myself building a parasocial relationship with the guy.
Parasocial Andy?
I think Driftwood starts a lot better. I like the kind of surf rock sound that it's starting with, and then it slides into that kind of big band jazz ska vibe. So I think Driftwood's off to a much better start.
This was the first song we previewed off the album, if you remember the Kickstarter. This is the first song they released to backers.
Yeah, I recall.
Very extremely catchy. It's got great verses and choruses. Some of the best mixing. I think Driftwood is mixed almost impeccably. And a good riff by Andy. I really like his guitar on this one. The lyrics are actually fun. These are some of my favorite lyrics.
I mean, I've got it here in my notes. Like, the lyrics are selling, the theme better, the composition.
Yeah, pariahs fed to piranhas at sale. Our marks on Driftwood prevail. Preconceived notions were destined to fail.
I'm still on the fence with this one. I still am on the fence with this lyricism.
Alright, not impressed on this one?
Perhaps a better direction. I mean, the guitar is doing great work. There's no lying about that.
Do you think this one deserves to be a single?
Yeah, I'd say it does. I think it earns its place.
Also has a music video. I think this is my favorite one. I love the green screen antics. I'm also a fan of Jerma, so I do love his green screen stuff. And the vibe of the song is overall more fun than Hive Mind. So you get more of that fun in Driftwood than you would get in Hive Mind.
I think definitely fun is a good direction for them.
Austin, this is my number 3 on the record.
This is the third. This is your number 3 right away?
It's my number. Yeah, we got 2 of my number 5 out of the way. I was going to say this album occasionally feels a little front-loaded with hits, but there are some surprises later on we'll find. But Driftwood I like a lot. Driftwood I like a whole lot. I usually hear it. I like listening back. This is a replayable song. I like hearing this one right again after the first one, just being like, oh man, Driftwood's great. I love that shit. Number 3 for me.
I think Driftwood definitely is doing a lot better than the first 2 for me. The guitar is doing amazing work. The dual vocalists are doing good on here, and it's got like the first half decent hook in the chorus for me. It's a good start, definitely. Driftwood just barely manages a top 5 spot for me.
Oh, it eked into the number 5. Let's go. Austin actually likes a song.
It just barely squeaks in.
What did it for you? What pushed it over from number 6 to 5?
I'll explain it. I'll explain it in a minute. We'll get there in a future song.
Oh, what? Yeah, okay.
I'm foreshadowing the same foreshadow I foreshadowed earlier.
You're really giving me a fucking Suburban Legends bit here.
It smells like cat piss. It's the cat piss time capsule.
where you're just taking forever to get to your point, and then you go off for like 15 minutes. All right, I guess we'll hold on to it then, because I don't know why, but it made top 5, so that's an improvement. You liked it better than Hive Mind. So.
I do like Driftwood.
Would you call Driftwood a good song?
I would call Driftwood a good song.
Hey, we did it.
I think
I'm pulling teeth for you.
I will say I think good songs we're at an above 50% ratio, which I think is good.
Oh, that's pretty good. That already means the album is above 50%. That's a passing grade.
I know that, you think it's pulling teeth, but you only have me on the show to try to bleed me dry of all my comedy. So that's just
segue. That's your segue?
The next song is called Bleed Me Dry.
Did you yawn? Did you yawn as you did that?
That was a comedic, exasperated sigh, is what it was. Did I not sell the joke?
Oh, what's that fucking... that noise? I can't remember. I have it in the back of my head.
Are you talking about the Chris Chan stress sigh? Is that what you're thinking of?
No, not the... But I have to put that in the episode now. Alright, well, let's talk about Bleed Me Dry. I want to use this song to talk about consistency on the record. Mm-hmm. So far, only 4 of the 12 songs are 4 minutes or more in length. All the rest are 3 to 3.5. And that's like, almost the perfect duration for most songs, especially like popular music. So any of these songs would work alright on the radio, I would say, the 3.5 minute marks, and they would play alright at live shows. Because even if you don't like that particular song, it's over pretty quickly. But Bleed Me Dry breaks the mold that the first quarter of the album established and tries to head in a new direction, and it doesn't really sell me on it. The saving grace, of course, are the saxophones and Joshua on bass. I think the bass in Bleed Me Dry is really, really good. And the driving energy that the drums have are really impressive, but I don't really like Andy's guitar work, and I think the chorus is one of the weaker ones on this record. The chorus, I end up tuning it out, honestly. It's not that great. I wrote, this is my first debatable skip. So it's got, good brass stuff. It's got, I know we haven't had like a skip or a debatable skip in a while, but yeah, this one, not great for me. Sort of like Hive Mind, I think the song after this is more fleshed out and sounds better. And it could have been a standout track on their previous album. Like if this was on Makes a Friend, it would have been great. It would have been sort of like proud for me. I would have been like, oh, who is this band? I want to hear more of this band. After hearing it here on this album, it doesn't really kick my ass into gear like it so desperately wants to. It wants you to be super high energy, but I don't think it's really that good. So there are some times where I get into the song and sometimes where I just want to move on. So that's why I wrote it's a debatable skip. It really depends on my mood if I want to hear it all the way through or not. It's not on my top 5, probably in my bottom half of the record.
You didn't have to wait too long for the foreshadowing. So the Bleed Me Dry, it was in the Schrodinger's 5 or 6 with Driftwood for a while.
Really?
But I found myself quite enjoying the song. I thought it had a good start. I liked the composition at the beginning. The momentum was high. It had a great start for me.
Yeah, it does have that.
I enjoyed the chorus. The instrumentation that kind of dances around the dual vocals during the chorus is great. You get a little bit of that call and response between the vocalist and the backing, which I like a lot in music like this, because that's
fine.
That's perfectly good experimentation that feels like it had an idea behind it and works in the song. But my preference against growled vocals shows up in the latter half of this song.
Growled
and
yeah,
I hate to say it because it could just be a preference thing, but
he's gonna say it.
I think it's so lame. I'm sorry. The latter growly metal vocals in this song is extremely lame.
How lame, he says. From his throne.
I can't help it.
His throne of criticism.
It's again, everything is for me. I'm going to qualify. I have no ill intention with this one.
Of course not.
For me, it's lame. And it was like a dish. I was eating a meal, which I was enjoying. I'm having a great plate of scrambled eggs or some shit.
Oh, a great plate. Scrambled eggs.
I'm enjoying it all the way through. And then, all of a sudden, the chef decided to put in a weird spice. And I'm like, what the why?
What the what?
What is this in here for?
It's only in one part of the scrambled eggs. It's not in the rest of it.
Yeah, it's the thing. It's it's in the last few bites of scrambled eggs that there's just there's like a hidden spice in there. Like there's some ground cumin in these eggs that is not doing it for me.
Hidden Spice might be a good bad name, actually. I like Hidden Spice. You did like it up to that point, though.
Up to that point, like it was the thing where it's like I can't just completely toss it away because of the very last bit. But
there's
like,
tons of good stuff in the song.
Because of it, I don't think I would go back and listen to it very often. So it's like because of it, it's dropped down a rank and out of the top 5 for me.
All right, well, from that weaker track, we burst forth, born anew into a better one. Track 5 is Rebirth.
Our blood runs cold in the face of starting over. Lost and fell into the mold, sweeping undertow. Lacking better words, a fleeting pantomime of falls as light was me, and seeds left to grow.
I'm not going to make a birthing joke. Anyway, this is the longest song on the album, clocking in at 4.5 minutes. But honestly, I think they could have gotten it to 5. I think this one could have gone longer, honestly. It warms me up every time I hear it. It's got this like dark, sort of brooding energy to it, but in a really fun way. It has my all-time favorite chorus on the record. But it does have some slight missed potential in that it could have done with some, that live ska. It really could have done with that. You can put that on the record. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Interspersed with the horn lines, you could have done that. You could have just get some fucking some chaps in there. It would have been a better song.
I'm gonna make a comparison. I want to see if you get what I'm coming from here. My very first note here, other than that it's bouncy, is Ruskaya Light. What do you think?
This one's comparable to Ruskaya for you, huh?
Starting it, I could hear the instrumentation immediately, like I could see it transform into a Ruskaya song just based on the bounce.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But as you say, like a little bit of that ska scat, a little bit of the hyping that the vocalist should have. I feel like the vocal performances, and it could just be the way the songs are written, the composition.
Oh, but she's so good. Jess is so good on here. Our blood runs cold.
This is the thing, is we'll get to it.
This is her best singing on the album.
We'll get to it later in the album, but I do
best.
find that she does sing pretty well later in the album. So I think it is. You have a different opinion of the album than I do. You say it's front-loaded with hits. I think all the hits are at the end.
Really? Okay, wow, yeah, we definitely have a different opinion then.
So for me, like, the very beginning, like, I'm not impressed with any vocals for, like, the first half of this album. And Rebirth is another example.
Not even with this one!
You can actually pinpoint the second when his heart rips in half.
Wow! That's so upsetting to me! This is, like, great vocals. Oh, I also forgot to mention, not only does Andy sing on this one, he also gets his trombone out.
Yeah, I like the trombone and the other stuff, but it's like this is the track where I point out what I find wrong with the vocal performance. This is the one where I'm saying that I wish they had a bit more.
So this doesn't make your top 5?
It doesn't. I think it's I think they're taking the vocals too seriously. I think a little bit of fun.
I just fell into a void.
A little bit of fun, irreverence, and personality would break up sort of the metered delivery that it has. And my brain connecting it to Ruskaya and thinking about how, if this was a Ruskaya song, how our board Grigorish, Makazari would do it. Like, thinking about him.
Georgie.
Like,
Georgie Makazari?
You want to talk about a vocalist who understands personality and
wow,
like,
you're really gonna
hyping things up. Like, that's an example. I want them to, like, I want Jessica to break something when she's doing her vocalist. Like,
break something. I don't think she really has that in her.
I need her to snap her mic stand in half. Like, I just want her to be fucking jacked on something.
You're so angry, Austin.
She's in Mississippi. It's the same as Indiana. Like, you can just look under any bush and find meth or something, and she needs to take it. I just want some insanity in the lyrics.
What about the last half where it fucking starts ramping up really cool and it has this loud fast where the song gets faster? It kicks ass. It's so cool.
I don't know. It didn't do it for me. We have
feel wow.
We have the
divergent
parting
paths.
of ways. Is this is your number 2?
Austin, this is my number 2 on the record.
I said
this is my number 2.
I knew it would be your number 2.
Rebirth is so fucking good. It's fantastic. It's so many excellent elements coming from the band. I think this is one of the best songs that the band has written so far, and it's on this record. And it's yeah, I really like Rebirth. I would love to see it live. It's gonna kill at live shows, dude. It's gonna so fucking good. This is the band firing on all cylinders, and I wrote in my notes specifically, it's probably the best track on the album that wasn't released before the album came out, because there is another track that was on an EP. We'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, this Afterglow exclusive Rebirth is the best.
I can see it does bubble with extreme potential. And I hope the band will rebirth itself with some of the additional potential when they hopefully can kind of refocus their efforts.
God damn it. All right.
I'm sorry, it doesn't do it for me as much.
Let's hear the next one. Let's hear the warning of imminent danger. The Canary in the Coal Mine. All right, so speaking of kick-ass songs, Canary in the Coal Mine is another one of my favorites on the record, Austin. I hate to break it to you, but it's placed directly after Rebirth, and it's such a breath of fresh air. It's got some really good vocal work from Andy. I think he plays to his strengths during this chorus, and he gets to do that sort of the walking riff during this song alongside the bass and the drums that really works well. And there's also some cool keyboards during the slow down part. That's really good. And
I'm not going to fight you on that.
I wish I had more good things to say about this song because it has a lot of good stuff in it, but it doesn't get higher than my other songs. So it squeaked in. For me, it squeaked in as my number 5.
Interesting.
I think the release of energy in this song is really good. It's a respectable spot. Number 5's good. And there's nothing really, like, super wrong with it. I think Canary in the Coal Mine does its job really well. And I would love to hear it live. So if I ever got to see you guys live, if you play Canary in the Coal Mine, that'd be great. Thank you.
We are in many ways on divergent paths, but on this one, I think we are 100% in sync.
Are we?
I like the verses. I like that the verses are totally different from the chorus. The slow down sections, I like them a lot.
The little dun 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 dun, the keys, it's so cool.
They have a good and interesting sound here. Kind of like what it's doing, but like you said, I don't think that there's much in the terms of additional depth to the song.
No.
So they had the one idea that they built the song around, which I think works, but I don't think there is much else of kind of an underground to it. There's not much.
They went in the cave, they got the crystals, they got out. They didn't get stuck in there for 142 hours or whatever.
Yeah, this is the one I have the least amount of notes for, but there's nothing that I really dislike about it. There's stuff I do like about it, so it's one of the good songs I have. There's nothing to, like, scream about. You could say that it's kind of static.
Hold on, wait, before we do that, I actually was curious. I asked your girlfriend Vic what she thought about this song and specifically Canary in the Coal Mine, because I thought it would be up her alley. I thought this would be a song that Vic would really like.
Yeah.
Knowing other bands she's into, and she said, and I quote, she liked it. 7 out of 10.
Excellent.
Pacing feels weird though. That's what she wrote.
Okay.
I guess I can agree. I guess she considered, some parts to be like slower and not as interesting.
I can see her right now. So we have music. Vic, come here and be on the show.
Live Vic reaction.
Live Vic reaction.
She probably doesn't remember.
You had
this was like 2 weeks
review
ago.
For song number 6, Canary in the Coal Mine. You said it was paced strangely, but you liked it 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
You don't remember?
She doesn't remember. I knew it.
200 years ago, she said.
All right.
I'm glad you're involved. I'm glad we got your expert opinion.
Canary in the Coal Mine, I think, is a great song, but you know what's better than great, Austin?
Are we 100% in sync on Static Home as well? I'm going first on this one. Hold on.
No. Okay.
I'm putting you down. Shut up.
You stay down there, little boy. Your favorite thing to say on the podcast.
My hit catchphrase from episode 1.
I'm going to keep bringing it up because it's so funny.
I think we're both going to say similar things about Static Home. I suspected as much.
What are we going to say, Austin?
So I'm going to start as clearly the more pessimistic of the band thus far. I wrote these notes as I was listening to the song for the first time, so my thoughts developed in real time. Would you like to read my notes, or should I read? Which is funny.
Yeah. No. You
want to go?
I'll read
on the trip with me.
Let's do this. Let's swap notes. This is so funny.
Go ahead and read my journey while listening to this song for the first time.
Alright, so Austin wrote, "The opening guitar succeeded in grabbing my attention. I like a quiet but nice hook, and it transitions into a really nice larger instrumentation. I really like how it starts. Even the vocalists are changing up their delivery and syncopating. This is by far the best song so far, holy shit. And the mid-breakdown trumpet solo bops. This song has me on board 100%. I want to know if there is something different about this one behind the scenes. We even have group singing under a sax solo. What the fuck? Let me print screen so I can save that. That's a good image right there.
This
Austin gushing about Static Home.
Static Home immediately gets me. If I am to vote for how they change their direction going forward, if they just do whatever the fuck they did with Static Home, and only do that for every other song going forward, this band will be one of my favorites.
Well, yeah, we're
This is clearly my number one pick, obviously.
we're 100% in sync, Austin, because not only is this my number one pick, it's the easiest number one I've had of the entire fucking podcast.
I agree. Like, what the like compared to all the other songs on this album, I have a nuanced opinion. This album is not a bad album. There are some songs I like better than others, but it's like this song is heads and shoulders better than everything else on the album.
You're absolutely 100% correct, and which is why in my notes I wrote, this song was released on an EP in 2019, Austin. So this song was released pre-COVID, and I don't even think it belongs on the album. I think this works better as a 2020 quarantine song than it works on Afterglow. I don't think it fits with the themes on this record, and it's just head and shoulders above everything else. It makes everything else look bad by comparison, no offense. I wrote in my notes, hold on, no, I'm gonna have you read it. Yeah,
have me read it. I've never seen your notes before, so let me have a peek.
There you go. All right, read my notes, Austin.
Do you talk to me in your notes? What the fuck? Why are you referring to me in your notes? Okay, I mean, this starts as Austin, comma, I have a confession to make. The main reason I picked this album was because Static Home was on it. Funnily enough, I don't think the song even belongs on this album. However, I cannot complain about it being on here because it is so fucking good. Everything about this song is perfect. It's one of the best songs I've heard in recent years. Forget ska songs, it's one of the best songs I've heard in years. I can listen to this one over and over for hours and never get tired of it.
Yeah, that's what I wrote.
I mean, that's pretty high praise.
Sonic Home is fucking incredible. Like, this is on the volume 2 of What Do You Know About Ska Punk, and it's just like, it blew my fucking, is the best song on that on that collection too. It's so fucking incredible. It's got the best brass stuff on the entire record, some of Derek's best drumming, and the riff Andy wrote that starts the song is like, hey, you know, what guitarists do. You know, I got this riff I came up with. Do you guys want to write a song about it? Around it? But I want to point out the real star of the song, and that's Brandon on the trumpet. He is a marvel, dude. I love watching this dude play. They confirmed in the Q&A, Austin, this is the first song Brandon recorded with the band. He joined in 2019, and he knocked it out of the fucking park. He's so good. That trumpet solo will get anybody into this band. And Nevin has a killer sax solo, too. Like, they're just fucking ripping it, dude. The brass of this song is so good. I'm coming. I'm fucking gasming right now. I'm gotchi gasming. I'm breaking Twitch's gasm policy.
Yeah, I think, like, for the album, it dances between 6 and 7s on average, and then we've got, like, an easy 11 just, like, sitting in the middle of it.
This is track 7 on the album, and it's my number 1. It's both of our number 1s. It's fucking awesome. Go listen to Static Home. And yeah, I also, if we're talking to the band directly, please make more songs like this. It's fantastic. They said in the Q&A they love playing it because it sort of gives them a rest from the other songs too. A lot of their other songs are higher energy and harder to play, but this one's actually not that hard to play for them apparently. They like it a lot, so yeah, please. Also, play this at every live show from now on. Always play Static Home. Always, always, always. Never get rid of it. Never take it out of the cycle. Always play Static Home. Thank you, Flying Raccoon Suit. We love you.
Yeah, I think it definitely, it bears a lot of examination on the why Static Home works. And if like, we love chatting with the bands that we talk about, like, if we ever get the opportunity, I would love to, like, just dissect Static Home and figure out what makes it work so well.
Yeah, they didn't talk about it that much. I don't know why not.
I would love if it became the sort of standard that the band tries to set itself apart using, because it would be an excellent template for them to kind of borrow from, the kind of thing to build their personality around.
It's not as upbeat as other, songs that they could, get the energy going and get the crowd moving, obviously. But it just works so well. Like, what it does is amazing.
That's the thing, is like not all ska has to be like in your face upbeat. Like I love momentum in music, but momentum isn't always upbeat.
But how do you feel about indie songs like this? Because this is an extremely indie song.
I mean, I love indie songs. I almost was going to have Slow Gherkin as the next pick on this album.
Oh, really? You're actually gonna pick Slow Gherkin?
I like indie sounds. I really do. I love the Ernie's.
I did too.
I listen to their album even though no one else wants to listen to it when I'm around. You want to talk about bands that have interesting lyricism, even though they reuse the same like line through different songs.
Enough gushing. I'm sorry, I just had to get that out of the way. I'm glad you had me read your notes and vice versa. That was fun. That was a fun little experiment, one would say.
Something to get us sidetracked. A little red herring, you would say.
You're on point with these segues, dude. I didn't write that many for this one, but you're...
I had a worse segue that just came to mind as well.
Oh, let's hear it.
Do you remember the hit show, with a pup named Scooby-Doo?
A pup named Scoob. You're gonna bring up red herring for a pup named Scooby.
Do you remember the best character ever written?
No!
Okay. Well, the next song, anyway, is Red Herring on the Afterglow.
This one almost made my top 5. It didn't quite push it way over Canary, but it probably would be my number 6 if I would have that one. Gizmo really likes this one.
Okay.
Gizmo agreed with me in that he thinks it's very fun, bouncy, and it's got a catchy chorus for the live audience to sing. And guess what? Oh, can I do a drum roll? Oh, who's that? Who's that? Who's outside our door? Oh, is that Jimmy? What is he gonna say?
Jimmy.
Group singing!
Oh, he's sorry. Oh, Jimmy!
Jimmy, say the line.
It's got group singing, Austin.
Yeah, it does. You know I like group singing.
I wrote in my notes, get Jimmy out here, parade out our robot friend who we paid to say group singing.
Jimmy, who we lock in our closet and release every once in a while.
All right, I'm leaving.
You know where you're going. You know you're going back into the closet, Jimmy. You're not allowed to leave.
There you go.
Get back in there.
I just made the sound with my mouth. I was gonna edit it in the episode, but I just made.
Yeah. If you show a Minecraft door while you do that, it'll sell the effect. Don't worry about it.
This is a good song. I think this is a good song, and again, like Hive Mind, I think this could be someone's favorite Flying Raccoon Suit song. Maybe if they didn't hear Static Home, but
I agree. Yeah.
Some people really like Red Herring, and obviously I've seen it. They play it live, and it kicks ass. So it does really good in a live setting.
One thing, I do have the numbers on Spotify for you as well.
Oh, you did this? You looked.
Yeah, within the Spotify numbers, Red Herring is on par with Hive Mind. Like they're both at about the 35,000 mark, and the other one higher than it is Driftwood, probably because it had its pre-release momentum as well.
Yeah. And it's also a single.
So it is like one of the more popular songs on the album, at least as far as Spotify numbers are concerned.
Good for them, though. Good for them. I think Red Herring deserves to be.
And while at work listening to my ska radio through Spotify, I have had Red Herring show up occasionally. You know, randomly generated ska radio.
Oh, in the list that Spotify makes that it goes through and just picks songs for you, it picked Red Herring.
I think it's got a fun, cohesive starting line. The vocals are. This is again like right after Static Home. I think Static Home is a key change for the vocal performance for me. Where it's like Red Herring is a simpler song as far as like what they're trying to do with it.
Yeah, boils down to the essence of the band, really.
I feel in this performance, Jessica is kind of getting to a higher level that I'd want her to be at. Like, she sounds more confident, a lot more energy, a lot more forward in the music.
Yeah, playing to her strengths, one might say.
Yeah, she's playing to her strength, and I like that. So it's like...
We like that.
We like that.
Later in the album, she does other types of singing, which I think also pull to her strength. But for like having her confident and forward in a song is great. And it being a simpler song is a strength in this case, because a lot of the other songs I feel are overcomplicated in ways that don't play to their strengths. So kind of a lean and fun song is great.
Okay, I see what you mean. I see what you're looking for from this band now.
I put Red Herring at my number 3 spot.
Wow, this made top 3. That's great. I can see that for you.
This is to clarify. I don't want the band to only do simple music, because obviously Static Home is plenty complicated, but I get the feeling like they do a lot of more complicated experimental things in quotation marks with their music, and sometimes I feel like maybe they're taking like one or two elements to make a track out of, and they just kind of combine them and try to make the song together out of it.
Oh, that's a point I wanted to bring up in the Q&A that
Yeah.
I asked Andrew what was one of his favorite parts about making this album, and he said the collaboration aspect. Like, everybody brought something to the table for this band. It didn't feel like it was just like a project of just him and like two of his friends.
Yeah, I think collaboration is very strong, but I think maybe the format, the actual bringing all the disparate elements together is what kind of needs some work, because I feel like some of the songs are just too, it's like a random number generator developing like two prompts to make a song out of, and sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it works really well, like with Static Home or with Red Herring, but other songs, like for Hive Mind, for me specifically, it doesn't seem like it works out too hot. I want them to experiment, because some of their best music can be very experimental. It's just I want them to get better at developing the combinations and thoughtful experimentation that leads to like really good sounding music.
Nice. I can agree with that. Yeah, I think that's a good take to have. It's a good take, Austin. We're not quite Spunge levels of disagreement here, but
I mean, we were. Spunge was one that when we went back to it, I started agreeing with you more and more as we went through it, but I just have a soft
how do you feel about
spot
it
for
now?
them.
It's been 4 years.
I think my opinion of Spunge is that they're hilarious and I still like them.
Have you heard
So-
their newer stuff?
I haven't.
It's even worse. It's even
Amazing.
worse.
Fantastic.
It's amazing. They actually sound worse. I feel bad. I feel bad for saying that, because I do think Alex is a fine vocalist, but like the mixing is like trash.
Did he ever?
I'm just like, what the fuck?
He never got back to us when we reached out to him, did he?
No, you're right. He never did. We emailed him. He never got back to us. How dare you? Stuck up bitch.
Oh, she's a stuck-up bitch.
I am a capricious podcast. I'm a capricious fuck me. I'm a capricious podcaster, and I will take this personal slight as fair game to bring him down.
I reached out to an indie band in Mississippi, and they got back to me sooner than fucking the band that was popular 25 years ago in the
Oh,
UK.
no. I'm becoming fuck. I can't. It's the one supposedly liberal dude who's definitely just a conservative who's fallen down the Nazgul vortex and got super mad about AOC not dropping everything she was doing to be on his show.
Crowder?
No, not Crowder.
Coward Crowder?
Yeah, Cower. Hide and Cower. Different one, yeah. He just tweeted her, come on my show. She didn't. He got very upset about it. Still is.
Oh, wait. And we're talking about stupid podcast annoyances. Can we talk about the fucking... the worst podcast ever? The Collider. The Collider Star Wars thing.
What?
He didn't get the podcast. He didn't get invited to Galaxy's Edge or whatever when it was opening it to do a press event, and he bitched about it live on the episode. And his producer came in and said, "We're still going to talk about it,
What's that?
You're going to.
even though you didn't go." He's like, "No, you're not. Find somebody else to host the podcast."
Someone else hosts the show today.
Wow.
on the show, like getting into a fight with his producer on the episode. It's really fucking funny.
I love shit like that. I love stuff that should be behind the scenes coming out to the front.
It's amazing, yeah. He's such a fucking whiny baby. He's a grown man. He said specifically in quotes, "I've been busting my ass being a Star Wars fan for years."
I've been busting my fucking ass being a Star Wars fan.
Oh my god.
That's what he really said.
I've been busting my ass.
Busting my ass, and they couldn't let me
Do
go.
you know how hard it was to be a Star Wars fan when they added women to it?
I didn't get to drink the blue milk.
Wah.
Fucking hilarious.
God.
Anyway, let's talk about everyone else. Let's talk about track 9. This is the shortest song on the album. I don't have a lot to say about it, so I want to get your thoughts first.
Everyone else, I enjoyed specifically the first thing that jumped out to me was the bridge from verse to chorus. I really enjoyed. The vocals sound really good over the quieter horn line in that specific bit. We get another good solo. The song is a good example of how their classic sound.
Really good sax solo. I think that's Nevin on alto. I could be wrong.
This is another song that really leads into that. Like this is one that if you dropped it back in like '96, it would perfectly fit in with everything else happening.
Oh yeah, definitely. This absolutely would fit back then in peak featherweight ska. I agree with you on this one.
Similar to Canary and Coal Mine, I don't have a lot else to say about it. It's a perfectly good song, yeah.
I like the chaotic intensity of the outro. It's not quite as good as Hive Mind's. In my opinion, I like the Hive Mind outro better, but still cool. This is probably the most similar to the stuff on Makes a Friend. which is not a great thing for me. I don't like everything on the previous album. It fits in with that stuff, but it's not great. I listened to the Q&A, and Derek in mixing mentioned that he thought this was his least favorite on the record. He said that the mixing isn't as great, and he wasn't super happy about all the things in it. And I think, yeah, I think I agree. I don't think it does enough great things to justify being on the record. Derek's drumming isn't really good either. It kind of lacks the pizzazz he has on other songs. It's really not that interesting. And this is my only, like, skip on the record. I hate to say that because I do like most of the songs on the record, but I tend to skip this on listens. I apologize, guys. I can still like 90% of your album and other stuff you make, sure. But this one, I could leave it. Honestly, you could probably leave everyone else off the album, in my opinion. It doesn't make my top 5.
I think it's a perfectly passable song. Like, I think it's perfectly all right.
You think it's like middle of the road?
It doesn't hit any big highs for me. It doesn't hit me too many lows. It's just sort of one that would kind of play in a larger playlist, so I don't mind it in the album.
It's all right. It's all right.
I definitely like that
I want better.
That our team here is like they're willing to criticize their own work to try and get an improved outcome in future stuff.
Yeah, you want to always be improving as a band. You won't almost say, "Oh, this is the peak," and then like give up. Like that's not really a great way to be. You want to be improving as you make better music, and more people come see your stuff, and they compliment you for making better music. So that's a good way of having a band lifetime. And yeah, this is like we are a half decade into the band's reboot now. So from 2016 to 2022, they've been going with this new lineup for 6 years now, touring a good amount, I would say. They play fairly often, I would say. And they've already put out 2 albums and an EP, and I think they're releasing more new music this year. They've already released Runaway, which I showed you. I like that song quite a bit.
Yeah, I think the band, like we were discussing, this band
It's on a good path.
Along with the Third Rates, I think are our 2 largest bands as far as like potential going onwards.
Yeah.
And so long as bands like that continue to kind of self-criticize and grow and learn and really find their own kind of personality, they'll be on the track to improving. Whereas other bands, you know, if they don't criticize and all that, then you end up having, you know, in the end, nothing's changed.
Track 10 is Nothing's Changed. I love in these segues. These are some of my favorite parts of the episode. Just hearing Austin just slide it in there.
I could, were you like leaning in your chair, just like waiting for it to drop? Like
yeah,
I didn't.
I was actually. Could you hear it? Did you hear it?
I could hear it.
This one, unlike everyone else, is a lot more fun. It's a pendulum swing from the last track. You go from the low of that track back up into the other side. I think Andy has better vocals. The mixing and the horn lines are better. It doesn't make my top 5, but I am glad that it's on the record. This was actually the B-side to the Static Home EP, and it's kind of crazy hearing that and then this. It's a huge change. Very glaring difference between Static Home and Nothing's Changed.
I mean, the opening hook is really good on this one. It transitions into a pretty decent horn line, and I put down that I appreciate the vocal delivery, even if I think that Andy still needs to kind of develop his specific delivery a little bit.
Okay.
I do not like the instrumentation breakdown in the middle of the song.
No? You don't like the wild outro either?
I'll get to it. The instrumentation in the middle of the breakdown I don't love just because I don't feel like it was built up to. It feels like a climax that had no build up. So it's like
it just kind of happens.
That's it, she says.
That's what she said.
Yeah, it's not a big leap off of a cliff and then down the hill. It's just falling kind of down a hill, which
you blink and you're already falling down the hill.
Stumbling into a culvert, really.
Into a coal mine.
So it's a bit flat. I don't love it, but I do like the following interlude and the play out because I do enjoy ethereal vibes in songs.
Yeah.
I'm always a fan of wacky, ethereal, psychedelic type music, as we discussed with Melbourne Ska.
Yeah, you like that. You like that a little bit more than me.
So I like the outro plenty.
I want to mention that I'm a stickler for album sequencing once more. I think this one could have come earlier in the album. I don't think this needed to be track 10. I think this could have been like track 5. So it would go like Bleed Me Dry, this and then Rebirth Static Home. I think that would have been better. I like Nothing's Changed better in the middle of the record than towards the end. But that's just, it doesn't have to say much about the actual song, but just how I feel like it would have been paced better. Towards the end, it just kind of feels lost, going from everyone else this into Don't Wait. This one just kind of gets lost in the flux for me. But it is fun, and I do like it more than everyone else, obviously. I don't know, this might be lower on the middle, but still pretty good. Maybe this would be like my number 8.
I think for me, looking back on it, I would have it be that kind of like almost potentially getting close to a top 5, like
Inching in there.
right on the edge of that 6.
On the precipice.
It's hovering in that like 6 to 7 range for me, probably.
Let's not wait to hear the next song. Don't wait. Okay, I know you don't...
Is it a segue if you don't make it like exactly the same name?
Look, man, we don't have to say the actual title. We could just say something that leads into it, and then have the song just play. That's typically how I go. I can make up whatever I want. I'm editing this later. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I could just cut out your entire segue and act like I did it.
I mean, you can do anything with my voice. You have the power.
I mean,
The power of editing. It's my favorite thing. My also favorite thing about this track is Jess's singing. She croons. She really croons on this one. I don't know if she actually had like jazz singing training, but she definitely has that sort of element on this track. She embodies the nightclub jazz singer, especially with the sax players absolutely killing it on this song. Mm-hmm. Nevin and Guillermo add a lot to this track. That I would even say they're kind of carrying it on their backs or on their sax. That was a bad pun, sorry.
no, I'm not giving it anything.
It has some kind of odd choices at times. The ending is kind of abrupt. It just kind of stops. And I feel like Curly's drumming is not as strong. It's better than okay. There's plenty of things to like about this song. Not in my top 5, but I do like it. I do like it quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I love the instrumentation here. I commented positively about vocals in this and the last song.
Maybe you're warming up a bit.
It's not that it's warming up. I think that they're better in the half album, in the last part of the album.
Okay, the vocals specifically.
Yeah, I like Jessica doing this kind of... I quoted it as smoking lounge ska. I think it's a good... It's the opposite of Red Herring, where it's like I like her in that because of the confidence and how forward she is, the energy. I like her in this because of the exact opposite. And it's strange that she can be so good for me vocally in two opposites, but like for the entire first half of the album up until the Static Home, I'm not at all impressed. It feels very flat to me.
Really? You didn't like the vocals in Driftwood, Rebirth, or Canary? You didn't, none of those?
I think I'd put Driftwood as the most acceptable, but I didn't love them.
Damn, man.
You know, I do like the vocals here in Don't Wait. Obviously, I love them in Static Home and Red Herring. And, of course, I put down that this is another example of vocals and backing getting to play a little bit together. And we get another great sax solo. It's a good one. It's my number 4.
Oh, this is your number 4 on the record. I like that. That's a respectable number 4. Don't Wait. Good track. Do you have a segue for this one, Austin?
Hey, look, Toss and Turn. That's the next song on the album.
Yeah, I didn't have one either.
Is an anti-segue better than a segue sometimes?
I think the majority of the band members like this song the most. In their Q&A, I think 4 out of 7 of them all said Toss and Turn was one of their favorites. It's different.
This is the one I watched the music video for.
Yeah, we talked about the music video. It has that sort of weird editing and interesting choices that it's very unlike the other two.
I'm not like you in that I don't usually audibly laugh at things. I did audibly laugh at an editing choice in this music video.
Yeah, what part?
The one, the funny fish and owl statue. You're working with what you got. Very, very good.
Working with what you got.
But the
they're not filmographers as far as I know.
Nope, they are not. I don't even know if they're video editors, really. I mean, the funny edits are great on other songs where I feel like the tone is there for it. I don't know if the tone of the music here is exactly the place for funny video edits, but the point where some stranger kicks the owl statue into the sand and then the fish has an existential crisis where like there's a blue shadow that comes out of it.
That made you laugh.
In the edit is very hilarious to me. You have to include it in the video edit because
I will.
It's hilarious. It just has an existential crisis and like a blue drop shadow kind of like moves in the back.
Do you think that's funnier than Family Guy JPEGs dancing across the screen?
That one's funny just because it is Family Guy characters.
You audibly laughed at that.
Slowly, it's very funny. These are funny from like two different extremes where it's like Melbourne Ska Orchestra has no excuse. I feel like it's extremely intentional.
If we talk about the actual song though instead of the video, I want to say it's different, it's long, it's sort of weird, but it speaks to the audience that resonates with this band as well as the members themselves. So many of them like and resonate with this song. It gives us a lot of time for the build-up, to the horns full blaring, and then we get group singing on the finale. And I think this will be a cult favorite for the band going forward. That's what I wrote in my note. And the album itself could become, an indie classic maybe in the future. You never know. So, great song. I would probably put this at my 7, right under Red Herring. It almost made my top 5. The more I listen to it, the more I like it, honestly. I think Toss and Turn is great.
Yeah, it's got a great start. I like the vocals. Again, the vocals here are an improvement and kind of, again, in the direction of what I want. This is the thing, like, the vocal delivery here, it's weird because Toss and Turn is in many ways a more serious song than a lot of the first half, but I feel like the vocals are more interestingly delivered. Again, we have syncopation,
They're gonna take it back!
We have interesting delivery rather than like very metered, serious lyricism and vocal delivery, which I think...
I agree, yeah, I think her delivery is really good.
I think in the first half of the album, I think it's just kind of samey. It fades into the background for me.
You wanted to flex more. You wanted to flex her chops more.
I want her to go for it. Yeah, I want her to go for it. And Toss and Turn...
So take that meth, Jess! Do it!
I feel like she went for it a little bit.
Peer pressure! Take the meth! Take the meth!
No amount of peer pressure will change our minds.
Wow, I'm accepted.
Like the vocals in this, they have a great push and pull. So it's like we have like this kind of, it's like a spring. It's like it condenses down the lyrics into more, you have more beats to lyrics, more syllables being pushed into the same number of bars, and then they would pull into other bars where they're stretching out syllables, fewer syllables per bar. So you get this kind of great push and pull quality in the lyrics, in the actual lyrics and the theme of the music entirely. So that gives me a lot of nice texture and actually good experimentation that I like in this song.
Did we already go through your top 5? Is this in it?
I mean, there is a number that has been missing from the top 5 so far.
Is this your number 2?
It is my number 2.
Wow, that's high praise for this one. This is underneath Static Home for you?
This is, again, like the example of where I want them to go. I want them to go more in this direction. I want them to go more this Static Home, Red Hair. Right. I want them to figure this out.
Okay, I like that.
If they can focus on what makes this good, in my opinion, and again, I want it to be interesting vocal delivery. I want it to be passion behind vocals, because it's like the push and pull here is great. The instrumentation here is on point as well, because we have an extremely good and like smooth transition from the chorus to the faster middle of the song, where again, we get kind of what they like to do, which is kind of moving from phase 1 to phase 2 of song. We've got vocal and callback from group, which we like.
We like that. No, stay in there. No, we're not doing. We only did it once, Jimmy.
You definitely have to include a muffled Jimmy.
I did it last episode, but I'll do it again.
Did we have a muffled Jimmy joke?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, that's how I know you don't watch the episodes.
Oh no. I actually did listen to the last one.
So you missed it. It happened so quickly.
Toss and Turn, of course, doesn't hit the height that is Static Home for me, but
Toss and Turn
is a very good example of where I want the band to move forward, for sure. I love Toss and Turn as an example of where they ought to be heading. I
think most people are going to agree with you. I think you and members of the band are also in that same park. I think they would agree with you. So yeah, there you go. That's the whole album. That was the last track. Afterglow's done in the book. So real quick, let's do the top 5 countdown. So I'll do mine and then yours. My number 5 was Canary in the Coal Mine.
For me, it was Driftwood.
All right, my number 4 was Hive Mind.
And for me, it was Don't Wait.
Respectable. I like that. My number 3 was Driftwood.
And my number 3 was Red Herring.
My number 2 was Rebirth.
My number 2 Toss and Turn.
And both of our number ones, sitting at the high of the peak of the mountain.
Very comfortably.
Static Home.
Not even on the mountain. The thing's
It's in
that thing's in
space.
space.
It's been launched. We should put we should put this in a capsule. We should put a vinyl of Static Home in a time capsule and save it, preserve it for history.
Yeah, I've had my my decal. I've had the Kickstarter decal for Flying Raccoon Suit just hanging around. And I think music like Static Home, Red Herring, and Toss and Turn might inspire me to slap it somewhere prominent. I think it's making me someone who's going to be interested in seeing the band develop over time.
I think more stuff like Rebirth for me and more stuff like Static Home are really what I'm looking for. So if you guys can knock that out, that'd be great. Still feel free to do the other kind of stuff you're doing on this album. I think the album overall is still like almost a 9 out of 10. It moved up from an 8 to me. I think on my first listen it was an 8, and then the more I listened to it, it growed up to a 9. So it's not perfect. In my opinion, I think it's front and middle loaded. I didn't like the back half as much. But I was really impressed with it, and that's my key word for this album. I was impressed, honestly, from a band that, if you listen to their previous stuff, I knew they had a lot of potential, but I didn't think they would get it this right most of the time. They really knocked it out of the park. Great improvement from this band, and yeah, I think this is a band that has already come a long way in the half decade since the restart, but I think they're just gonna keep improving as musicians. They challenge themselves, they find out what works, they work for them. So yeah, I'm very glad. This actually made my top 10 albums of the year in 2021.
Interesting.
I was very technically impressed with it. I think it's very good for repeated listens. I jammed it all the time at work, and of course, Static Home will live in my brain forever. So.
It's interesting because you think it's very front-loaded. Now I think the front half of this album is very uninspiring to me.
Wow.
Literally, the only thing that made top 5 in the front half was Driftwood at number 5. Everything else for me, the top 4 songs I have are after track 7.
Yeah, you
So
feel
it's like-
the opposite. You feel like a complete opposite.
I feel drastically the opposite.
That's great, but we came together on Static Home. We both agree it's the
We
best.
definitely came together on Static Home. So if there's anything,
Right in the middle of the album.
like if the band does pay attention to us, like they're getting pulled in 2 different directions from both of us, but we are in unanimous agreement that Static Home is definitely what you should do more of.
Please!
Definitely develop more
I beg of you.
on Static Home.
So yeah, I also listened to this album with Gizmo because I wanted to get his opinion because he likes indie bands. And he mentioned that he feels like mostly everything sounds crisp and clear, except sometimes the mix is a little too drum and bass heavy. He feels like Andy didn't get as much time to shine as a guitar player through the album. And I kind of agree. I think Andy could have challenged himself a little more to do more interesting guitar work on this one, except for one instance at the start of Don't Wait. Gizmo said he really liked that guitar tone and he wished he would do more of that. And I agree. I think the guitar at the start of Don't Wait is great. And he also, he wanted to see, speaking of things he wants to see from the band, he wants to see them cover a Mr. Bungle song. He wants to see them cover Carousel. I also like Mr. Bungles, so I think that'd be neat if you guys are in the market for songs you can cover, try Carousel by Mr. Bungles. He likes Bleed Me Dry, Nothing's Changed, and Don't Wait.
No opinion on Static Home?
He said it was really good, but he didn't have like a holy shit moment like we did. We had a holy shit moment listening to it. I don't think he did. He also agrees that Hive Mind should have been the opener. He thinks it's a better opener than Afterglow. So there you go. That's the whole album. We did it, Austin. We talked about Flying Raccoon Suit. We talked about Afterglow. Thanks for indulging me. Overall album thoughts?
I think if I were to put a number on it like you did, I think for me it's definitely more of like a 7 out of 10 album. A 7 out of 10 for sure, I think.
It's a Vic score.
It's got some highs, it's got some lows. Obviously the highs are very high. There's not a lot in the album that I hate.
You didn't have any skips, did you?
I mean, I would probably end up just starting the album at track 7 and just continuing.
You can't skip
Honestly.
the entire first half of the album, you piece of shit. What the fuck?
It's just my position.
I asked you for one skip. You say 1 through 6.
I'm not trying to be mean, but it's just definitely not my take.
I know what you're here for. You're here for Static Home. I get it. Look, I've been there. I just want to hear that song over and over for hours on end.
I feel like the band could be doing so much better. So it's like if this Afterglow album were just tracks 7 through 12, I think it'd be a far better album for me.
Wow. Okay. I don't agree with that at all.
I have an extreme idea of what I think would make the band sound amazing and make them like a success, and it's definitely by focusing on what they were doing in the latter half of the album.
Cut the other stuff I don't like, says Austin. Just cut
True.
it.
I am the completely talentless and unqualified ska critic here, and I say the first 6 songs are bad and should go in the trash.
That's so mean. How dare you call Rebirth bad?
But the last 7 songs are good, and I like them.
Please more, please.
More.
You beg for more, but you tell our songs trash.
So
You're my favorite kind of fan, Austin. You're my favorite. They love you.
I'm an actual Star Wars fan over here. Look at that.
Oh, you're busting your ass being a Flying Raccoon Suit fan.
Flying Raccoon. It's unbelievable.
So much work they make me do to like their songs. All right, Austin. That's it. I got my pick out of the way, so it's time for you to pick a song or a track, an album. Fuck me. You to pick an album for the next episode of the Rude Boys podcast. Who are we going to talk about, and what is it?
Similarly, as I was talking, I don't think ska necessarily always has to be like super high upbeat energy. I mean, it doesn't have to be like in your face.
We talked about Slackers.
And we love the Slackers.
We did enjoy Slackers quite a bit.
I was almost tempted to bring them back as the first repeat band, but I went with something different.
Okay, I like different.
So the album and the band, which we will be covering on our next episode, is, I believe, another 7-piece ska band known by the name The JB Conspiracy. We will be looking at The Storm.
Okay. The Storm by JB Conspiracy, huh?
It's a little album they dropped in the year of our Lord 2013.
Wow, okay. I don't know anything about this band. I don't think I've heard anything by them.
I've heard quite a few of their songs. I like quite a few of their songs. They have...
Do they have any other albums?
Oh, certainly. They've got Beginnings from 2021, so they've got a recent album. They have they have This Machine from 2007, and they have The Long Road to Zurich from 2020.
Ooh, I like this album art. This is good.
Yeah, we have very artsy album art. They're a UK band as well.
Oh, hey, we got another band from the UK. All right, cool.
So we have UK-based ska band. They have a very unique sound. It's one of those bands where it's like they have their personality set in stone. The JB Conspiracy knows who they are. When you hear a song, you can definitely point out who it is.
All right.
I think we will have a good time exploring the JB Conspiracy.
I like the look of these guys. They got a good image. You seen this image on the Bandcamp?
Yeah.
I'm just kind of looking around.
So I think that will be an excellent one for us to jump into on the next time.
All right, next time we're gonna talk about the JB Conspiracy, The Storm. I'm looking forward to it. That's all for today, Austin. Have a great night. Take care, folks.
We'll see you all. We'll find a new villain to fight. Maybe it'll be Flying Raccoon Suit, depending on their thoughts of my review of their album. So we'll see.
We're gonna brave the storm on the Rude Boys podcast.
We'll bring the storm. We'll unearth the JB Conspiracy.